Good evening, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to another lovely evening of Jay Bird watching. Guess what? We are literally within a week of Toronto Blue Jays baseball. Who even thought this was going to come, to fruition after a few weeks ago, where we were sitting all here pondering if we were ever going to even have a show more than once a month. But to that point, we had the whole band back together here for 2 weeks in a row, fellas?
Yeah.
Adam Corsair, Brendan Panikar, Chris Key. Boom, we're all back. So. Fellas, how we doing? Ready for baseball?
You ready?
Today should have been opening day.
Yes,
If it wasn't
we're
going to be.
Slight delay, but to that point, 1 week in the midst of all the other stuff that was going on, I'm going to take 1 week behind all day, every day. So it was just insane, the fact that there was no baseball coming. There was nothing to look forward to. My days after work were really damn boring. It was like, okay, what next? I can only hang so many shelves. Or to Mr. Corsair, who was shopping for hats while we were doing our pregame segment here.
Always.
How'd you do, man?
Oh, I might pull the trigger. I haven't decided yet, but now with this buy now, pay later trap that I find myself in at least, I don't know, a couple times a week. I always pay them back. You got to pay it back because then you're in trouble. But
you don't want those creditors knocking you down for that $20 Blue Jay hat you bought.
What's the thing?
Clearance.
You don't get hounded by creditors. That's what's great about it. You don't have to give your social. So,
just credit card debt, massive credit card debt.
yeah. They charge you numerous fees if you don't pay on time, of course. So, is what it is.
Either way, so. While we're all hiring for debtors, we are still the official jaysjournal.com podcast, part of fanside.com. Shout out to our friends over at Stadium Scene, who always do a great job to us, as well as we kick off more festivities this evening as we gear up for our Toronto Blue Jays baseball. So, fellas, outside of spring training games, which have been up and down and all over the place, there's been slaughters to the Yankees. There's been games where we gotten decked. We actually had a signing over the last week, and honestly, I'm a little moderately excited by this one, and I'm not terribly sure how to actually interpret this whole thing, other than it's definitely some great outfield depth. But the Blue Jays did sign a minor league deal with Dexter Fowler, who has been one of those guys that bet on himself in the past and actually won out pretty well. But is he due for another comeback at the age of 36, I believe? Who wants to field that one first?
I mean, I could take it. The Jays finally got their guys. Their guy.
It's always how many years later?
Yeah, I think it's 6 years later. And I mean, this isn't anything that is necessarily surprising. I think Anthopoulos was the one that was chasing him. Was it in 2015 he was chasing him?
I think it was
going into
signed with
2016,
right? After 2016,
all right,
wasn't it?
So it was Atkins and Shapiro that were chasing him. All right, so there you go. So the Blue Jays got their guy. So I look at this two ways.
Not Jay Bruce, though.
No.
Gotta get him out of retirement.
You never know. You never know.
Could still happen.
On the one hand, Craig, you sort of nailed it. It's minor league depth, and I could always say that you can't have a bad minor league signing. I remember was it Sogard, Eric Sogard? That was a minor league signing, and it was great. Yeah. And I remember actually, Craig, you and I talked about it on my old podcast when we were discussing that signing, and people were complaining about it, and I can't understand it, much like this one right now. It's if you're going to complain about a minor league signing, I don't know what to tell you. It's just depth and insurance. However, the rumblings, and I don't want to get into a completely different topic, but the rumblings of the health of Springer and Teoscar does concern me, even though it's not super out there. It's not anything that we should definitely be super worried about, but at the same time, it is something that I'm keeping my eye on, and I don't know if this was an addition just in case of insurance. And today you saw Biggio play right field, so I don't know if they're just trying to keep their ducks in a row when it comes to outfield depth. But all in all, does he have anything left in the tank? Probably not, but it is just a minor league signing. Yeah, I'm not expecting much from him at all.
Yeah. So to that point, he hasn't done really anything since 2017 is about, I think, the best thing you can say with the Cardinals. That's first year. Had a monster year in 2016, as we both all know. Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, no, it's I with you, Adam.
there's no such thing as a bad minor league deal, and it can only benefit them moving forward. I even wonder if we're ever going to see him at the major league roster, to be honest, at some point. More so because I wouldn't be surprised if this was kind of like, I forget who it was last year. I think it was Liriano, where he went down, or he had an opt-out after spring training when he didn't make the roster. I wouldn't be surprised if Fowler has an opt-out maybe in mid-April, maybe late April, where if he has not been called up after he's been deemed ready to go, that then he can be a free agent, and it's just simply a landing spot for him to get back on his feet. But I think you're absolutely right. They got their guy a couple years later than we had all hoped, but it actually worked out. I mean, Craig, you touched on it. He had that one big year when he first signed with the Cardinals. Then he was absolutely terrible and injury-ridden 2018. But 2019, that's not too far away from a guy who had 1.6 F4 I'm looking at right now. But last year, I'd totally forgotten that he tore his ACL when he played the Blue Jays in that game when they were out in LA. I just saw the highlight this morning. And I was like, oh, yeah, that is what happened to Dexter Fowler. Because when his name surfaced the other day, I'm like, what the hell happened to him? And that's why, like, we barely seen him the last couple of years because 2020 was so short. He only played 31 games that year, and then he only played 7 this past season. So I'm with you, Adam. I don't know how much he has left in the tank. If he has anything left, that's fantastic. And again, that's why a minor league signing isn't a bad thing, because you can take that risk and flyer. And they have a couple guys who could be candidates to DFA to make room for Fowler in late April, if that is when they deem to call him up. So no harm, no foul. I'll be honest, though, I'm personally not overly worried by the Springer or Hernandez rumblings of potentially being hurt. I mean, yeah, we've been burnt in the past to think that it's not a serious injury, especially last year with Springer with his, it was a calf or something like that.
Yeah.
And it ended up being way worse than we all feared. But, just get through spring training healthy. As long as they're in the lineup opening day, that's all that matters. And hopefully they're good to go from there.
Bingo. So to the other point on this whole fun thing, this is, if you look past our normal guys, we just traded Randall Grichuk. Ramil Tapia was a great pullback, and I think a key spot for this as far as having somebody with some speed and some defense off of the bench rather than somebody that's just hoping to basically be our glorified DH all the time. So that was a good move. But this whole thing, the next guy in line after Tapia now was Josh Palacios, who I had the pleasure of watching when he was in the young minor league, when he was really in the lower end of the minor league system, but he hasn't really gained ground to take that next step to be a solid AAA player or even be major league ready. He's had some flashes this spring, but this is filling that gap, at least in between there. You got somebody that, okay, if you ended up having Tapia all of a sudden for some reason in this lineup more, you have somebody at least that was major league ready to come into that void for a team that's a playoff team versus a guy that's a rookie. Chris, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I can't disagree with a lot of what you guys are saying. My only concern about this is Fowler can't play center field. At that point as well, Tapia can't play center field. Our backup center fielder is one of Kevin Biggio or Teoscar Hernandez, which doesn't exactly inspire a whole bunch of confidence in me. Probably inspires
the exact opposite. Maybe?
Not a lot of confidence in anybody, or let alone anybody on the coaching staff either. I guess what would you say? Probably Tapia is the backup center fielder. I doubt you would probably put Teoscar out there. As for what you were saying, Adam, with the injury stuff, I think I might be a little bit more concerned about Hernandez right now, more than Springer. Springer seems to be swinging the bat pretty well right now. He's 6 for 10 in spring training.
He's ready to bat,
so I think he is ready to go. If you saw some of the chatter on the bench before the game today, that was pretty entertaining.
That was good.
Sounds like he's ready to go. I don't know. It's very interesting because I think, to me, right away, I thought maybe Springer had something to do with this. Fowler was in Houston in Springer's rookie year, so maybe it's just a shot, like Adam said, just a shot for him to have a place to get ready. And hey, maybe he comes up. If he does have that opt out May 1st, maybe something bounces his way. He makes it onto the major league roster and he gets hot for 2 or 3 weeks, and you flip him to somebody else who really needs an outfielder, for a relief pitcher or something, or you just make space for somebody else that you need to come up, like, I don't know, Martinez or Moreno.
Anybody.
Well, it depends how a lot of things have to shake up really well. And you know what? There's honestly probably more space to see a Fowler on this team if you go down to 2 catchers. And I think that might be what it comes down to. If there is an opt-out May 1st, do you fly with Reese McGuire on this roster, or do you bring up a Fowler and have somebody like that to give you an at-bat from the left side? I think he is left-handed, or switch hitter? Left-handed? Yeah.
So I had that in front of me. Where'd it go?
I did just have it, and then I switched over to
he switched.
He's switch hitter. So maybe you need somebody to come off the bench as a left-handed bat, and you've already burned Tapia, or he's already playing, and Biggio's already playing, and you need somebody to go against that hard-throwing right-handed pitcher late in the game. Who knows? Like you guys have already said, there's no such thing as a bad minor league deal. So take a flyer on it. See what happens.
Would you?
Worst case scenario, you have a backup outfielder. Best case scenario, maybe he figures something out that he's finally healthy. So what's wrong?
I was gonna say, would you rather walk into the season? Let's assume that Fowler's ready to go. He might not be, like in terms of getting up to game speed and whatnot. But assuming that even if it takes like a week or two, if given the choice, would you rather ride him on the bench for that left-handed hitting role, or just to spell a Teoscar if he's dealing with something, or even a Springer to give him an off day? I know load management has been a thing or a point of discussion when it comes to him, so we can actually utilize him throughout the entirety of the season. So if given the choice, DFA or put on waivers Reese McGuire and bring up Fowler right away, or keep rolling with McGuire? Me personally, I'd rather just roll with Fowler.
I'd roll with Fowler too, just because if there is something left in the tank, he can help you offensively late in the game, or be a defensive sub later in the game. Obviously, Tapia is going to be the main.
He's not very good defensively, Brendan.
Not anymore.
He's not very good defensively. And he doesn't have legs under him anymore.
Yeah. To that point, you're bringing him to be a spell for a bat and maybe a left fielder if you got to move him around somebody.
Yeah.
But to that point, but his bat off the bench as a switch hitter is way better than Reese McGuire is ever going to be.
Well,
in my opinion.
Do you think they're holding on to Reese because he's a left-handed hitter?
Probably.
Yeah.
I honestly think the only reason he's on this team is because of trades. I think he would have already been pitched, but go ahead, Chris.
See, what I found really interesting is what came out today, and they basically said that today's roster, or today's lineup, against the Tigers. Sorry.
Tigers, yeah.
Yankees, that was last night. Was going to be the opening day lineup.
And that was Biggio and Wright.
And who's
second?
Who is catching?
Kirk.
Well, which I don't know. You could probably fling around Teoscar in right and put Biggio as a DH. I don't think that really matters. But what was really interesting to me was you had Alejandro Kirk catching and not Danny Jansen. So if you're going to use Alejandro Kirk as a catcher, why are we even having the conversation of keeping Reese McGuire on this team?
I'm with you.
Why?
100%.
I mean, they did kind of mess up the roster. I'm looking at the image of it. They had Springer, Guerrero, Hernandez, Bichette, Kirk, Guerrero. Oh, sorry, Gurriel and DH. Chapman at third, Biggio and right, Espinal at second. So by mess up, I don't know that I'd have Espinal start at second base, and that's not me tooting the Biggio horn.
Yeah, sure. Right.
No, it's not. I think Espinal is better off as on the left side of the diamond. I'm not saying he's going to be poor on the right side of the diamond, but I mean,
but he's not going to get any reps on the left side of the diamond this year.
I don't know. I don't know if Chapman's going to need to be spelled, because I don't know what the status of that hip.
To that point, I would think he's probably going to be better off than not. He finally had a real off season with Chapman this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was saying last year, I think he spent his whole time doing rehab, making sure he was set. So now you talk about he's got everything good to go, you would think. So he even said that himself when he came over. He goes, it was nice to have how much hitting did he do last offseason before, obviously, he's focused on making sure that he has the range of motion to be able to play defense, all that good of stuff to be able to make sure his legs were underneath him. And obviously in the midst of that, you lose a lot. He had to get the strength back, and he was doing that while trying to hit in the regular season. I think he's going to play up fine, but to that point, Santiago Espinal is still going to play his share of third base in this season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So where those other games, Chapman might be DHing. And that's the nice thing about having no dedicated DH on this team, to that point of what even you do with Kirk. You're carrying 3 catchers. I would be almost to the point that you have to be playing Alejandro Kirk every day in DH, just because you really want to have 2 extra catchers just eating up freaking space on your bench for pinch hitting.
If you're not going to use Kirk as your designated DH and you're going to let him catch games, like, why are we wasting our time?
100%.
Yeah,
Bring
it's
up
such a
Fowler
waste. Yeah.
Apparently, Greg Bird used to catch, so he can be your third catcher now instead of Espinal.
There was that.
And that's another one that he's going to make the team. I know we're going to get into 28-man roster soon, but I'm fully penciling in.
Bitch just made fun of me last week.
Yeah. No, he's in. He's in. 100% he's in. But I think the lineup that you saw today, the top 4, that's what it's going to be on opening day. The rest will shuffle around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I mean, not to divert the agenda a little bit, but I love having Vladdy in the 2-hole and having Bo down a little bit further, mainly because Bo is not a very high on-base percentage guy, and he puts the ball in play, and he will be able to soak in all those runs and drive them in, with Vladdy and Springer being your guys who get on base quite often. So I personally like that construction way more than putting Bo 2 and Vlad 3. Not that it matters at the end of the day, they're both great hitters, but just think, put your best in the 2-hole. We've seen that the last couple of years. Trout bats in the 2-hole as an example.
Well, let's dive down that one a little bit too, because that was something I honestly didn't see when I was writing up the agenda until after I started doing my homework for tonight. So, fellas, the fact that does this scream 2015, 2016 with the Josh Donaldson spot being number 2, with putting your best hitter in your lineup in the 2 spot. And then obviously, guys, the way the metrics and everything have went over the years, obviously your 1 and 2 guys get the most at bats during a damn ball game. We already know that George Springer is obviously a lot more comfortable in the leadoff spot. Why not make it that much more hard for any pitchers out there by just assaulting them with George Springer, Vlad Jr., and then Teoscar?
That's deadly. Is it deadly 1, 2, 3? But if I'm going to nitpick it, maybe I'd switch Hernandez with Bichette and have Bichette bat 3 and have Hernandez be that cleanup hitter.
Teoscar can get on more than Bo, so I'm with that for sure.
Yeah, I think Bichette can reach base a little bit more, and he doesn't really hit for power. So I that's the only. I don't hate it.
Bichette's a little bit quicker than Teoscar too. So if you start grounding into double play balls, Bichette can probably beat it out.
Run him out. Yeah.
Run him out before.
You just don't want to have him nipping at his heels, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to help anybody if they're no. And this is no slouch to Vladdy, because he's a lot quicker than he looks, but he's still not fast.
No. And like having Kirk bat in front of Gurriel is a statement. That's not something I wouldn't intuitively thought that was the case. But
and Chapman batting where he is.
Yeah, that's confidence.
Is wild.
Yeah, Kirk batting 5th that's confidence. And if they're gonna roll with that,
hitting the ball hard.
Yeah,
so
then this is my point. Why is Reese McGuire on this team? Never mind. We already beat.
Why? Do you want to get really wild?
Go ahead.
Table flip this shit. Come on.
Oh, people are gonna roast me for this. Back Kirk second.
Why not?
I don't see why not.
But I wouldn't bat Vladdy.
Crazy bat the ball.
Vladdy's 3.
And then and then put Vladdy 3rd.
And then
he gets on base. He gets on base a lot. He puts bat on ball a lot. So maybe maybe that single that Springer walks, Kirk hits the single. Springer's going 1st to 3rd, and then Vladdy drives him in.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Now, so we know what Chris Key's MLB The Show lineup looks like.
Yeah, if Vlad hits the ball on the ground, we're instantly into double play territory. But like you take the good with the bad in that case. But yeah, if you want to do something really wild, back Kirk second.
Yeah. And to that point, he's actually been backing that up 110-fold over the spring at 353. And and getting on base, like you said, at over 1% clip. So it's freaking nice. But
Yeah.
the lineup construction for this lineup is going to be something I think we're going to end up talking a lot on this season, and seeing the fact that it's already getting, if this is quote unquote the opening day lineup, it's only going to make this conversation even that much more crazy, because it's either going to click and this is going to be something insanely special to watch off the bat, and we're going to have one of the best Aprils we've ever had, or they're
That'd
going
be
to
nice.
constantly tinker for it the whole damn month until
Yeah.
something finally solidifies. But to that point, I don't think there's anybody in this lineup right now that is in the spring that is looking out of place. Santiago Espinal hit a home run the other night. Kevin Biggio had another hit today and has been looking very solid since, quote unquote, not having healthy, what was it, legs under him or something that they were saying he was having an issue with for 5 minutes there. Loris Gurriel Jr. has been barreling the ball up crazy. Had a home run today. So it's, and then you get into the guys that we know are just going to rake. So it's very interesting to see where this lineup's going to go.
And
Does anybody want
I
to
don't
have
think it
anything?
matters. I don't think it matters where you hit anybody, to be honest. They're still going to
Pretty much.
drive
Such
runs
a
in.
good lineup.
At
Yeah.
least
I have to say,
the
good
top.
luck poking holes in it.
Yeah, the top
Yeah.
6, 7 guys, I agree with you. That doesn't matter. I would still have Biggio and Espinal, or when Jansen's in the lineup, have him towards the bottom. Jansen, this is a huge prove it year for Jansen, but Kirk being the opening day starter, with maybe Barrios sees something in Kirk. Maybe that's going to be his personal catcher from now on. Maybe that's why he's the opening day starter at catcher, according to this lineup.
I think it's just because he's better.
Or he's better,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, just a better hitter.
Kirk's a sneaky good catcher for too. I really think they like him. I really think they enjoy throwing to him just as much as they throw to Jansen.
Well, and you got to think, okay, so here you got to think, I just figured out why Kirk is starting. So you have to start Kirk the first game because the next day, who's throwing? Gosman. Well, he
Yeah.
throws a splitter, right? So you're going to want
Yeah.
Jansen's defense. The next day, who's pitching?
Ryu.
That's
Jansen.
Ryu's only throwing to Jansen, so you weren't gonna have him
3 days in a row.
go 3 days in a row on an evening game and then right to an afternoon game and then another afternoon game.
Yeah.
So that's exactly why Kirk is catching that game.
Yeah.
And then to that point, that's also right there, unfortunately, probably why you're going to get stuck with Reese McGuire on your opening day roster, because they're going to want to bat Alejandro Kirk in that DH spot those other games.
Probably.
So,
Probably. That's probably what they're thinking. Like, Craig, you brought up the needing to get off to a hot start and potential for that. I don't know if you guys had looked and studied a little bit more. It's a
Schedule
tough open to the
sucks.
season. Like,
The first 19 games
after the
suck.
rain, all the way through to Victoria Day long weekend here for us in Canada. You have the Rangers obviously for 3, the Athletics for 3, but you have the Yankees 9 times. You have the Red Sox 7 times. You have the Astros 6 times. You have the Guardians 4 times, and their pitching staff is bad or really good. Guardians, yeah, the new team in Cleveland, and then the Rays for 3 at the Trop, and then the Mariners before the Reds come to town. So needing to get off to a hot start in April has never been more critical in my mind than this year. So whatever makes the lineup go and drive in runs, do that.
Yeah, but don't forget that the Yankee series when they come to Toronto, if all things stay the same.
Yeah,
that should play in their favor.
It's
same thing with Boston.
It's that
COVID numbers are through the roof right now in Canada, and they're keeping it very hush hush. But
there you go.
The feds aren't going to change on that.
No,
anytime soon.
Yeah,
not a chance.
So yeah, so I'm not really too concerned with. But we know, Little Birdie told us that the Rangers have everybody in their lineup.
Yeah.
Right. So they're gonna be a fully packed lineup, and then they go to New York. I don't know the athletic status. I don't know if they're all vaccinated.
It'd be fascinating.
There are a lot of young kids too, because
yeah. Same thing with Boston. Same thing with we have an idea of.
We know that Boston has a few guys that are going to be out.
Yep.
JD Martinez is one of them.
There you go. Houston, I don't know their status. Right. So like it's more of an experimental onlooking to see what is going to happen when teams come to town, because this is a legitimate,
huge,
however you want to see it. You can choose. Like I understand personal choice. Don't want to get vaccinated, fine, but it puts the Jays at an advantage when playing at home if their visiting teams don't have players vaccinated.
But to that point, it is still 100% accurate that this team might have actually looked a completely lot different with the original off-season plan. If Blue Jays indeed were allowed to get certain players that they were targeting,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
that were allowed, that had no interest in getting vaccinated and just don't want to basically do it, they would have probably happily been in Toronto playing. But to the fact that they're not going to do that, they're not going to be playing in Toronto anytime soon.
Yep.
And so it's a 50-50. I'm just getting really pissed off after all this stuff, and I know you guys have heard it. Oh, the Blue Jays got an unfair advantage. Okay, great. We haven't played a home game until what, August last year?
Yeah.
Or June. So screw it.
It's not an unfair advantage
yourself.
because we're playing by the same rules. It's
Yeah.
just our team is vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yours is not.
Exactly.
You have every full opportunity to be. You're just choosing not to. So you're putting your own team at a disadvantage because you don't want to.
It's the consequences of your actions. You saw it last year in the NFL when a quarterback, like quarterbacks down the stretch, Carson Wentz, Kirk Cousins, missing big games. That's their choice. It's the same thing in baseball. You're going to miss it for different reasons. Obviously, there's no international travel in the NFL, but same thing at the end of the day. And yeah, you have the choice at the end of the day, and you're choosing to not help your team. You're not a team player, as far as I'm concerned.
And this crap sucks, so get your damn shots.
There it is. So, but anyway, seeing we're talking about shots and basically we're quasi injury list, I'm going to give Chris, I guess, segue points here for moving us on and to the point that we're going to talk. Unfortunately, guys, there are a couple of guys that I haven't said they're exactly on the injury list yet or not, but they're kind of in the quasi, hey, we don't know if they're 100%. And the first one is Jordan Romano. And I believe the story is I hurt myself walking my dog.
Yeah, he fell in a pothole and twisted his ankle or rolled his ankle.
Nothing beats
That is no
Saunders
fun.
with a sprinkler head, though.
No.
Yeah. No, it was.
It's kind of
Stroman
6
was the
degrees
sprinkler
from
head,
that.
wasn't it?
No,
Or
it
was
was
it also
Saunders.
Saunders
It was
tore
Saunders in the
his
outfield.
Yeah, Stroman was
What,
walking off
didn't
the mound
Stroman
or
hit a
something.
sprinkler head as well?
No, Stroman
No.
Going for a
still rolled
bunt?
his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he hit a sprinkler head as well while he was doing bunting practice or fielding bunts.
It's a
I
good
thought it
thing
was off the
Shapiro
mound.
paid for all those renovations, so we don't have to
Maybe.
worry about sprinkler
Sprinkler heads, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but to that point, he's in question to that point now because of that. And the other one is Nate Pearson was the elbow strain.
No,
Was
COVID.
that the
No, COVID IL.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a third person that there was mention of an elbow strain? That, or am I thinking of another team that I was fantasy baseball perspectives on?
Yeah, nothing's ringing a bell.
Okay.
I know Pearson was sick. He tested negative for COVID as of yesterday, but he had COVID symptoms. So they're just holding him out. Romano is actually dealing with an ankle injury. So there's your two closers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You better hurry up and go sign freaking anybody. Just kidding. Because right now, guys, if let's say that either of them were right now able to start the season, like tomorrow is the start of the season, who are you putting out there in the ninth inning? Is it Yimi Garcia that's had a whole 2 weeks or a whole 2 days in camp or whatever it's been, or it's going to be a slim pickings. I almost wonder if you end up throwing Ross Stripling out there and just hoping for the best.
You have nothing to worry about anymore with Jordan Romano, because remember what happened last year when Robbie Ray hurt his elbow when he was carrying his kid. He won the Cy Young. Jordan Romano has equally as freak of an injury. He'll be fine. He should be. Maybe he misses a day or two. I would go Yimi Garcia, or Jimmy Garcia is actually how it's pronounced, as people say the other day. Jimmy Garcia. I mean, I didn't watch last night. I didn't see, but from everything I've been seeing from people who watched the game last night on Twitter when he pitched, he looked really damn good. And he has high heat, good velocity. So I think he'd be leading candidate. I think Julian Merriweather, who had a decent outing today, would be a candidate for the ninth inning as well. It's a great thing about the bullpen right now. They have so many good arms on paper that anybody could take closing opportunities right now. And that's just the way bullpen management has gone the last couple of years, where just use your best guys in the highest leverage. And if that's in the 6th, 7th, use them then and save your next best for the 8th and 9th. So, yeah, Romano for sure will be fine, I think, at the end of the day.
I like your philosophy there. Blue Jay freak accident,
come on,
superstardom.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the question is the beard going to be like the new tight pants thing or something? So, but to that point,
you're missing out on our best reliever last year to close out games, and that's probably Tim Mesa.
Yeah, him too. I mean, absolutely.
Very much flies under the radar of this team quite often because of the other names that are out there, but Tim Mesa is
and being lefty. It was lefty.
and being lefty. Well, like
So.
we said, what was it last week? This team could have 4 lefty relievers in its bullpen.
Yeah.
Going into the season. So
going to see what happens because they got to figure out what they're going to do with Ryan Barucki and company before we talk. So, but to that point, guys, if you're not worried about those two guys, I guess we might as well roll right into the next topic, which is the position battle stuff. Why don't we start with the bullpen? Because if right now we are starting to talk with this whole thing, the bullpen obviously would normally be right now. Jordan Romano's got the closing job. Then we have somewhere shuffled in there, probably Nate Pearson, all the Tim Meza, Ryan Barucki, so on and so forth. Jimmy Garcia. I really think they're going to end up maximizing how many pitchers they have on this, and you got to have Ross Stripling in there, that guy that's going to be the next innings eater, because you know how it is. We've seen it already this spring. Some of them come out and they're throwing gas and they're fine for a couple innings. They're not really maybe going to stretch out as quick as you think they might. And you're going to need somebody to be able to bridge a gap for a couple innings. And that's where Ross Stripling's job is, making him sound like Scott Downs or Brian Talbot back in the day. Or who was your favorite, Brendan? There was somebody else in that conversation.
Oh, okay.
Brought him up on trivia night like 30. Yeah, Villanueva. So same kind of thing. But correct me if I'm wrong, boys. Is a 28-man roster. Do you think they're going to end up carrying 13 pitchers?
Oh, they might have to.
I think so.
They might.
I really don't see how you get away around it, especially with
Yeah.
these innings things. You could maybe balance that out with an outfielder or another position player after the fact. Maybe that's when Dexter Fowler gets his May 1st call up or whatever, like to our note a minute ago. But I really think it's going to be very pitching heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're so overly confident with the position players in terms of their offense that, it's a glaring, maybe not glaring hole. Actually, yeah, it's a glaring hole, their bullpen. And I think they're just going to shove as many arms as they can out there and just, scrape the barrel until something sticks. And hopefully it does. So I think they're going to give numerous pitchers every opportunity to succeed. I mean, they kind of have to,
I'm trying to see if we get the depth chart up here and see what they're projecting for our bullpen. But
I think basically what's going to end up happening is Barucki probably shouldn't be on this team heading into the year, but they're going to give him every chance to fail in season.
Yeah.
Before they ship him out. Which I can see why they're doing it, because he's been around with the franchise for a while, and he is valuable. He's a left-handed pitcher that throws pretty damn hard. So why wouldn't you want to keep him around? It's a pretty good asset to have. But at the same time, a lot of people point their finger at the bullpen collapses early in the season last year, and that was our downfall. We missed playoffs by 1 game. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but son of a bitch, if this bullpen even starts to waver a little bit, there's going to be angry mobs with pitchforks and fires coming after the front office and this coaching staff, because fan base won't put up with it.
I think we're losing Chris. At least I'm not hearing you as well, Chris.
Yeah.
They've been really high. Oh, am I back?
Yeah, sort of.
Sound a little better now. It was
There we
like going, I'm a robot, Chris, and I like Blue Jays.
I don't know where I left you off. Basically, just the fan base isn't going to put up with having this bullpen falter. They're not going to put up with mediocrity again. Like, this team was built to win. You need to put out your best pitchers, and you need to build the best roster that you can night in, night out. And if Ryan Barucki is going to be this year's version of Rafael Dolis or Tyler Chatwood, like, it's not going to go well.
You didn't go to your favorite, Tanner Roark. No, I'm not touching it. So
I'm not touching that. I don't want to get Brendan all worked up.
So I'm looking at the Fangraphs' projected Toronto Blue Jays roster, right? And right now they have us only carrying a 4-man bench for position players, and it is somehow including Reese McGuire, Greg Bird, Santiago Espinal, and Ramil Tapia, and it's showing that Alejandro Kirk is our DH. So let's say that happens. I really think that's exactly where it is. So that sounds accurate to me. And obviously, we know what our rotation is with Barrios, Gossman, Ryu, Manoah, and Kikuchi of some nature, right? So the bullpen, they have Romano and Jimmy Garcia, Tim Meza. We all kind of forgot about Adam Simber in this conversation, and then Trevor Richards, two guys that kind of saved our bullpen last year, fellas. And they have Julian Merriweather, Ryan Barucki, Nate Pearson, and Ross Stripling, and they actually have David Phelps sneaking and stealing a job.
So that's 10 right now.
Correct.
Yeah, you're taking 10 bullpen.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and to that point, there's a few guys there that can, throw a little over an inning, but really the only standout guy that you're going to get doing multiple innings, because you're telling Nate Pearson to go out and gas it, right, is Ross Stripling. So, does that sound accurate to you? Are you going to make an argument for anybody else that should be in that bullpen?
Yeah, Taylor Saucedo should be in the bullpen.
What about Andrew Vasquez? Signed into a major league deal.
But he has an option. He has an option. He has an option. The reason that he's going to probably stay out, and probably Saucedo as well, is because Barucki doesn't have an option.
Yeah.
And that's why. But Taylor Saucedo should be in this bullpen before both of those guys.
He had enough to be very intrigued with last year. I was very high on him. And then he's pitched pretty damn well this spring already, and he logged a lot of crucial innings for you last year that I think you got to give him another opportunity to go out there and see exactly what he's got. Let's see if he could shine or not. And if he can't for whatever reason, then you have Vasquez waiting in the wings. But I think we know what Barucki is at this point, and you have to go with the hotter hand. Yeah. Nobody wanted to say anything about Joe Biagini. No way, I'm shocked.
No.
We already talked about that last week. I just had to be that dick.
Sorry, Blue Jays moms.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
who are the 10 that they had there, Craig?
Let me go back up. I was going down into the minor league stuff. So they have Romano, Garcia, Meza, Simber, Richards.
Meza. That's who I forgot. When I just
Merriweather.
said don't forget about him.
Yeah. Merriweather, Barucki, Pearson, Stripling, and Phelps. And honestly, I really like the idea of bringing David Phelps. He was on a roll and was kind of carrying the bullpen before he got hurt. So to that point, to give him another chance and pick up where he left off, I love the idea. I will say he's probably going to have the shortest leash of all, though, would be my guess, just because of the fact that he did get hurt. And there are some other guys that could come up and help this team. And to that point, I really don't see a chance of him having an issue, because he's looked pretty good in the couple times I've seen him so far. Looks like he's ready to go.
I'm looking at the 40-man right now, and I see a couple of guys, handful of pitchers have already been designated to the minors. Kay, Hatch, Francis, Danner. You guys surprised at Anthony Castro? Not that I think he's going to make the lineup, but hasn't been.
I actually quite liked Castro last year.
I mean, he was raw last year. He was not ready, but
he was only 19 or something.
Yeah, dude, he was born in '95. Like he's a pup, but
95. He's in 95.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
so he's Luciano-ish.
Yeah, so he's 30, or so he's 26
he's
or 27.
He's 27.
He's 3 years younger than me.
I'm just saying.
So he's not nearly as young as what I thought.
But he's 182 pounds, soaking wet. So he just looked raw, and his control last year was pretty terrible. And was he a single A call up? Did he play in AAA?
No, they got him. They claimed him from the Tigers, I believe.
That's what it was.
It was a claim.
It was like he was thrown into the wolves. So I don't know if they're going to give him an opportunity. I don't see him making the opening day roster, but it does strike me as odd that he hasn't been designated to the minors already.
Yeah, I mean, he could end up winning a job and stealing it from somebody.
Does he, if they claimed him from Detroit, would he have to go on waivers to go to the minors, though?
Probably.
It wasn't a 40-man. I mean, a Rule 5
Rule
draft.
5. It was not a Rule 5.
It would be a regular every day. If he has an option, he goes down. If not, he has to go clear regular waivers.
It doesn't matter anyway, because he it would have been last year for the Rule 5, right? Yeah.
They didn't have it
okay.
this year, so there's none of that fun.
I
So
can quickly
you don't have to
find
worry
it.
about that this year.
Yeah,
Castro
I
has
would.
one option left.
Yep.
Oh, he has
does.
one option left. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
And
gonna
then-
say maybe if he didn't have any options left, that could be why.
Yeah.
And then you talk about somebody else that has some really good talent. That was a great, I thought, sneak pick with Vasquez. But
Yeah.
he's going to be one of those guys that if he dominates down in the binders, he's going to probably have to force his way onto this team too. Because I love his arm. I'm just waiting for him to see if he takes that next step and see where things go. You can see it in flashes. So it's very talented arm to have all of a sudden this, in the mints here.
I think the 10 that were listed on that projection is what it's going to be at the end of the day, especially with a 4-man bench. You got your 5-man rotation locked and loaded, and then you got your 9 regulars that will go out there every so often. So there you get 28 right off the bat right there. And I think, Chris, the way you said it, Vasquez starts in AAA. He has an option. He'll come up. Castro has an option. He can come up too if people go down. And I think the guy with the shortest leash, unfortunately, is Baraki. And it sucks because if he does get DFA'd, he's getting claimed in a heartbeat. Nobody's going to let a lefty that can throw 98, 99 go anytime soon, which is why I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and really prove that he just doesn't, for whatever reason, have it anymore. Baraki makes a team. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if at first he gets some decently high leverage innings just to throw him to the Wolves immediately and be like, you're all the way back. This is where you pitched when you were healthy last year and in 2020. So try again.
See what happens, right?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Vasquez started at one point, did he not, in his career?
I believe in the minors he did. I want to say that lower levels he did, but I'm pretty sure he kind of excelled as a bullpen arm. I'd have to go dive into his
really
baseball
excelled,
stuff.
but because he's a slider first guy, right?
In the minors, he started 2 games, so maybe it was
that's it.
as an opener potentially.
Okay. Never mind then. I thought at one point I had heard that he started, so I didn't know if he would be stretched out a little bit or not.
Yeah.
But your first call-ups for the starting rotation are probably Hatch, Kay, and Thornton anyway.
Yeah, if it's not Stripling.
Yeah, you just slide Stripling in.
Yeah. And then fill in a long guy in that spot. From the
Well,
minors,
it depends.
I would think Kay's up.
Yeah, if it's just pushing Ryu back a day or something, it'll be Stripling. But if you have an injury or something, you're calling one of those other guys up for some.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. K would be the first, I would assume.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So, is anybody else shocked to the fact that in the midst of a week, you guys have all jumped on the Greg Bird train with me?
Listen, at this point,
guys hit his way on.
Yeah.
It's really what it is.
It's hard to ignore.
Hitting.
Actually, Greg Bird wasn't listed on that roster projection that you had there.
He was not.
Yes,
I asked
he was.
was he? Okay.
Yes, he was the.
Oh, you're right. Yes. He's a bench.
So
he was the 4 bench guy.
Unless
because
I
they
counted
count Kirk as a DH.
Unless I counted wrong, right now the 40-man has.
Is at 38.
38. So there's your easy 2 guys on.
So
Phelps
you could put.
Bird. You go from there.
Yeah, Phelps, Bird.
Fowler would need to be added later in April via a DFA, and that could be Baraki, depending on.
And Fowler's not ready yet, regardless if he gets in on a couple last-minute spring training games here. It's just not happening. So, but to that point, still good depth as we mentioned before. What was I going to say? I lost it. Anyway, are we all? Did they officially say that Barrios is starting on opening day? Is that what I heard today?
Yes.
Okay, so. Obviously, we're going to be following that with Gossman. Is there still any? And Alec Manoah picked another great game today. Is he your number 3 guy, or are we using him to split up Ryu and Kikuchi?
Yeah, Manoah will start game 4 at New York. And I like that, as I was saying in the text group the other day, because you can have Ryu end with a softer opponent. I know Texas loaded up a couple of big bats, but softer opponent. Then he gets Oakland for a second start of the year. He opens up that athletic series and misses Yankee Stadium altogether. Look, Ryu has been very good against the Yankees since they've gotten him. He's been actually fantastic against the Yankees since they've gotten him. But I mean, you guys know I'm his biggest defender. I love the guy. But I think he needs to get off to a good start, get his confidence back. Not that probably ever went away, to be honest with you, but just get a couple starts under your belt. He'll face the Red Sox in his 3rd start if it lines up the way it is. But I just like having him avoid the Yankees in that 4-game series. Just a feeling over anything else that isn't proven by anything.
Are we in New York that series, or are we in
Or in New
Toronto.
York.
It's in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you don't want to pitch in there.
No.
And to that point, isn't that also where Alek Manoah had his debut and actually
Yes.
was pretty damn good.
Yeah,
So
he
to that point,
did.
he's pretty
He did.
fucking comfortable. It seemed like. So
Yeah, the only
Pretty
thing
comfortable in Camden too.
yeah, yeah.
even while he's getting barked at and everything, right?
Yeah.
The only argument to switching some guys around I've seen is actually having Kikuchi pitch on the third day against Texas instead of the Yankees for his first start. I don't know if that's anything that would be debatable, but that's the only thing I've seen in terms of the rotation order that somebody would change.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like honestly,
Yeah,
the first time through is the only time
Doesn't matter.
it really matters. Yeah. After that, it doesn't matter.
So out of these guys we've been talking about, is there anybody in that bullpen that does take the next step this year that actually might be rivalry for Jordan Romano for those late inning sort of high leverage guys? Somebody that steps up out of this group. Do you think Ryan Borucki bounces back? Does somebody else jump into this? Does Julian Merriweather steal the job like we thought he was going to do last year? Things like that. Does anybody want to have any bold bullpen predictions?
As a closer, you're saying Merriweather?
I'm just period. Whoever takes that next step from
It's Pearson.
being okay mediocre.
Pearson.
Yeah, it's
Pearson's
Pearson.
going to be the closer. Last year that was like a half kidding prediction I was making. I'm dead serious. I think Chris and I
believe
are
you.
on the same train. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
Pearson's going to be the closer of this team by the end of the season, and he's going to thrive.
I bet you Nate Pearson's going to be the closer of this team before the All-Star break.
That's bold. Wait, due to injury or performance?
Performance.
Yeah, that's bold. I
can
love
see
it though. I love it.
I like it too, but I really think it's gonna be one of those things that him and Romano right off the bat here, I think are gonna be a hell of a tandem, and it's gonna be something fun to watch. I think the one guy I think that's gonna take that next step, and I wouldn't have said this a week ago, is his first start. His first outing. I was like, oh my god, he's not ready. Julian Merriweather was very impressive the last couple times I've seen him. He's actually locating the damn ball. I think he's going to be pushing for some more of those high leverage innings, and I don't think he's stealing a closer job, but he's going to be in that late inning area there with Simber and Garcia, and now, like to your guys' point too, Pearson probably.
I have a rule about Julian Merriweather. Don't get excited by him because he'll probably let you down by getting hurt. It's unfortunate, but it's true. That's been his whole career
You're not
so
wrong.
Yeah.
Bringer of pain.
Glimpses of awesome. Bringer of pain.
Would be my choice too. Just if he can stay healthy, I think he will do very, very well. I mean, somebody said today he's kind of like Shane Bieber in the fact that you come with velocity, you strike a lot of guys out, but when people make contact off you, it goes far, and you could give up some bombs. And that's the only concern I have about Merriweather is he does give up his fair share of home runs, but other than that, he's a stud, absolute stud. Just stay healthy, man, please.
I know.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the back end of your bullpen going Merriweather, Pearson, and Romano, all three guys that can throw 100 miles an
They
hour
finally have
plus.
velocity.
It is a huge plus. Plus, you have Meza can throw 97, 98. You got Garcia, I'm pretty sure can pump 97.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that you're looking a lot like the Tampa Bay bullpen, but they got guys that can throw heat too, and we got guys that can finally match them.
Yeah.
And that's very, very deadly to have out of the back end of your bullpen. As you can see from teams like that, you can see teams like the Chicago White Sox right now. Hell, look at Atlanta last year in the playoffs.
Scared of the White Sox bullpen.
The White Sox bullpen is very scary. But like I said, even the Atlanta Braves bullpen last year in the playoffs, that's a huge reason why they actually won the World Series was because of their bullpen. And we've seen that time and time again in the playoffs and down the stretch in years past, especially recently, that bullpens take over the game now. And you need high velocity guys to get you through those late innings.
Yeah. You're shortening the game by having that kind of a bullpen the White Sox have. It's just insane. You got to hurry up and dive on that starting pitcher in the 4 innings probably that they're going to be in, 5 innings before you get to Kimbrel, Hendricks, everybody. It's like, how many good closers are there in baseball? Oh, they're all at the White Sox. Okay. So it's like, that's like the kind of stuff that you would do in a video game. Stock a bullpen like that and just truck people. It's ridiculous. But to that point, hopefully good offense on the Blue Jays will be able to tap into some of that to that point. But on the other fun part about this, boys, I don't know. I think you guys saw that I sent out the article the other day that we might have one of the best rotations in all of baseball. And according to MajorLeagueBaseball.com, we have the best in the American League, and it was ranked third in all of baseball. That was to your point, Adam. If you want to run with that, you were the one that. Not only did I say they were they were the third best rotation. You're like, well, they're the best in the AL. You all excited?
Yeah, they're the best in the AL. I think ahead of, was it Chicago?
It was the Chicago White Sox and can't
Houston?
remember off the top of my. It wasn't Houston. I don't think. I'll have to see if I can find it real quick while you're talking.
Sure. They also ranked number 2 overall for the overall lineup in MLB, so that puts them number 1 in the AL because I think the Dodgers were number 1 overall, which I can't really argue with. I mean, this rotation is
it was the Astros.
Was the Astros. The only question mark I have with the rotation, and not to shit on your parade, Brendan, but is just Ryu. He's the only question mark, and I know Kikuchi is. I mean, he had the yips his first outing in spring training, but I think that gets settled
better
in.
After.
Yeah, he's a professional. That will settle in. I think Manoah has all the confidence in the world. Gosman and Barrios, you know what you're getting. So the only question mark I have is Ryu, and if Ryu is gonna have a bad year, all he has to do is be average. Really, all he has to do is be average, and I think the offense can mitigate any mishaps that the rotation, specifically Ryu, may be having. But otherwise, I think you look at the rotation front to back. I'm just confident. I'm just confident, and I need these pitchers. I need Charlie to let go a little bit, and if they're cruising, they gotta go 7. You gotta let them go 7. You can't, especially if they're cruising, because there were so many games last year that this bullpen, granted much of them are the same right now, just blew up. And if we could have just salvaged one of those games, and
it would have been that much different.
We would have been in the playoffs.
I also wonder how much that plays in the mental game of starting pitchers too. And I think Ryu is one of those people that's definitely susceptible to that. Hey, dude, I was cruising. What the shit?
Yeah,
you know,
I get
very
it.
Similar to Shoemaker in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I get it that you don't want to like run them dry in the beginning of the season. You want to, have some longevity there. But at the same time, if you're cruising in May or June, just leave them in there for another inning and just see what happens. I don't care what the stat receipt says. Just let them go. So if you have that much confidence,
how you feeling? Do you want one more?
Yeah, let them go. Let them go. If you have that much confidence in your rotation as it stands, you got to have confidence that they can pitch 7. I mean, to me, that's so weird to say. And I know old man shouting out clouds right now saying, back in my day, there were complete games. I'm not saying that, but let them go 7, man. Just let them pitch. See what happens.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add before we wrap this week's episode up, or anything you would like to bring up?
Chris, please shit on Ryu a little bit more.
No, don't.
I don't want to kill Brendan's freaking season opener freaking show next week, so I'm trying to be nice.
No, my only question mark in the rotations, same as you, Adam. I just the way things went for Ryu last year, unless there was an underlying problem, he is the only question mark for me. Kikuchi is going to raise some red flags, but he got off to a good start last year. If he gets off to the same start, there's going to be questions still of, is he going to falter after the All-Star break? But I think you have to give him every opportunity to fail at that point, especially if things are rolling well. And hell, maybe things change for him and he finds something with the Blue Jays coaching staff and with Kirk and Jansen that everything kind of clicks for him. But yeah, I don't know. Ryu is going to be, I think he's going to be the story of the rotation, good or bad, this year. That he's either going to be the piece that holds everything together or just everything's going to fall apart for him. I don't think there's going to be one way or another for him.
It's a fair assessment. He's sitting literally in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he puts up a very R.A. Dickey-ish season and just holds up 200 innings somehow and, gets it going for the Blue Jays in the middle of that rotation. Because honestly, guys, if he gets in the ballpark at 180, 200 innings, throws 4 at a 4 ERA even. This team could carry that, and I really think it's going to be that kind of a thing for him. And if he does that, I really don't think you'll hear any good or bad out of it. It'll just be
Has
white
he ever
noise.
thrown that many innings
Awesome.
before?
He's been around 170, 180 those couple of years that he was really stringing along. He hasn't peaked over 200.
Never. The closest he got was 192.
He threw 192 in 2013.
It was his first year, right?
First year in the bigs.
And he hasn't thrown. He threw 182 in 2019.
Yeah.
And 169 last year. So
if he's around 170, that's fine with me at the end of the day.
Yeah. He could put even together last season. If he takes that one little extra step, that's even that much better. So he doesn't have to be the ace anymore. He's got 2 other guys to lean on, which is what we have been saying for years since we signed him. That it's great that we have him. We love him, but we need an ace, and we just paid 2 of them.
He obviously had a couple rough starts in between April and August. It's really the last 6 weeks of the season where his season went downhill, and it's a little more magnified because of the stakes of some of those games we were playing. Yeah. I think he'll be fine.
I think you probably want to. People are going to bitch about this as well. I'm just running on hot takes.
Your number one fan's going to come back in the comments.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
You probably want his ERA closer to 4 rather than anything over that, but I know ERA is a dirty statistic now, but you probably want that a little bit closer to 4. And
wins don't count.
437. Yeah.
Wins don't count, then I don't know what the hell I'm watching, because then how do you know if I'm doing good or not? Can't win a trophy if you don't win games. Just saying. Yeah. So now that we've gotten everything off of Chris's chest about Ryu, is there anything else we would like to add before we go this evening, fellas?
No, not on my end.
Okay. Well, to that point then, before we do our 2 claps and a Ric Flair and a Let's Go Blue Jays, Blue Jays fans, we're here every Thursday, I guess, for the near term here. We got a couple of mixed matches with the Blue Jays schedule there in a little bit, but we'll be back next Thursday right before opening night. Correct, fellas?
Yeah.
We all good?
Next
okay.
Week, yep.
Just want to make sure because then you'll be here with us before we get that. And obviously, I will be tweeting from our podcast account during the game. Please interact with us. We want to do fun things with all Blue Jays fans here while we're talking and watching the Blue Jay games. This is just as much of a venting place for all of you. Just wanted to make sure we're on. We got plenty of people on Twitter today that apparently like Chris Key's hot takes, just saying. So, but to that point, also, catch us live during these shows. We're around 7:30 each Thursday. We'll be live on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you just come in, join the conversation, and we'll answer your questions live on the air. And it's obviously recorded. We're going to be putting that out on anywhere you can get your podcasting pleasures from, where it's Spotify, YouTube again, Google Podcasts, any of that kind of good stuff. So, fellas, other than that, 2 claps and a Ric Flair, and let's go Blue Jays.
Let's do it.
Woo! Woo! Let's go Blue Jays. It's there. Baseball's finally back.